This isn't just an off-field story. This is a pressure test because what's happening around Puka Nacua right now doesn't stay off the field. It directly impacts how the Los Angeles Rams make their next major decision, and that decision is coming fast. Let's start with the context. A civil lawsuit is filed. Serious allegations, verbal, physical, behavioral. His attorney denies key claims, disputes the narrative, and even signals a potential defamation response. At the same time, a judge rejects a temporary restraining order, but a hearing is still scheduled. So nothing is resolved, nothing is proven, but nothing is dismissed either. The obvious narrative is simple. This is a legal situation. It will play out in court. The team will wait for clarity, and until then, football decisions remain separate. That's how organizations are supposed to operate. But that's not how reality works in the NFL, because timing matters, and right now, the timing couldn't be more critical. Let's go deeper. Nacua isn't just another player. He's central to the Rams' offensive future, a rising star, a primary target, and most importantly, he's approaching a major contract window. That changes everything. Because when a player is about to get paid, teams aren't just evaluating production. They're evaluating risk, consistency, reliability, and off-field stability. Clipping moment number 1. In the NFL, talent gets you paid, but trust determines how much. Now layer in recent context. This isn't an isolated moment. There have already been prior controversies, comments, public perception issues, individually manageable. Together, they form a pattern, and patterns matter more than incidents. Because from a front office perspective, this isn't about one allegation. It's about predictability. Can you trust the player to avoid distraction? Can you trust availability, mentally and emotionally? Can you build long-term around him? And that's where the situation becomes more complex. Now, here's the hidden factor. This isn't just about Nacua, it's about the Rams' timeline. They're still operating within the Matthew Stafford window, which means every decision is accelerated. They don't have time for uncertainty. They need clarity. They need dependability. They need players they can fully commit to right now. So even unresolved allegations create pressure. Not legal pressure, organizational pressure, because waiting has a cost and hesitation impacts planning. Clipping moment number 2. For a contender, uncertainty is more damaging than bad news because it delays every decision. Now let's shift to the football side. What happens if this situation lingers into the season? It doesn't need to be proven true to have an effect. It just needs to exist. Because distractions affect preparation. Preparation affects timing. And timing, especially in a precision offense, affects execution. For a receiver like Nacua, success is built on route precision, quarterback trust, situational awareness. All of that requires focus, consistency, stability. And if that's compromised, even slightly, it shows up under pressure. Missed adjustments, timing off by a fraction, hesitation in critical moments. Now we reach the turning point. It's not the court decision. It's not the public narrative. It's how the Rams respond internally. Do they stay fully committed, move forward as planned, or do they start building contingency, exploring depth, reevaluating contract structure, protecting themselves against risk? Because once a team starts planning around uncertainty, the relationship changes. Clipping moment 3. The moment a team builds a backup plan, that's when the future is no longer guaranteed. Now zoom out. What does this mean long term? If the situation resolves cleanly, no legal consequences, no further issues, then Nacua's trajectory stabilizes. Talent wins, production defines value, and this becomes a temporary distraction. But if it lingers, if more information surfaces, if perception continues to shift, then the impact becomes financial, structural, strategic. Because the Rams don't just need a great receiver, they need a reliable cornerstone, especially as they navigate the final stretch of their current window. In the end, this isn't about judging the situation, it's about understanding its impact. Because in the NFL, decisions aren't made in isolation, they're made under pressure, with incomplete information and against the clock. And right now, Puka Nacua isn't just facing a legal process. He's facing a critical moment in his career, where talent alone isn't enough, where perception, timing, and trust will determine what happens next. This didn't start as a football story, but it might end as one. Because right now, Puka Nacua isn't dealing with coverage on Sundays. He's dealing with allegations that could change everything. And the timing? couldn't be worse. A civil lawsuit, claims of assault, a reported antisemitic comment, and one detail that instantly turned this from noise into something heavier, a physical incident that allegedly crossed the line. According to reports, the accusations stem from a New Year's Eve outing in Los Angeles. What began as a social night out allegedly escalated fast. The plaintiff claims inappropriate behavior, escalating contact, and eventually an alleged bite that left a visible mark. That's the moment this story shifts, because now it's no longer about words, it's about actions, and actions carry consequences. Nacua's legal team is pushing back hard. His attorney denies the most serious claims, specifically rejecting the alleged anti-Semitic statement and framing the physical interaction as horseplay. Two completely different versions of the same night. And that's where the tension sits, because in the middle of conflicting stories, one thing is certain: this is now public. And once it's public in the National Football League, it doesn't stay contained. Here's the turning point. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Just weeks earlier, Nacua had already been under scrutiny for controversial comments on a live stream, comments he later apologized for. Now, another allegation, another headline, and suddenly a pattern starts forming. Fair or not. That's how reputations shift. And for a player in his position, that matters more than ever, because this isn't just about legal risk, it's about leverage. Nacua is approaching a massive moment in his career, a contract window that could define his financial future. We're talking about a deal that could put him in the same conversation as Jackson Smith and Jigba. Top-tier money, franchise-level commitment. But teams don't just pay for production, they pay for certainty. And right now, there isn't much of that. For the Los Angeles Rams, this creates a different kind of pressure. It's no longer just about what Nacua does on the field, it's about what comes with him off it. Because even if nothing is proven, even if the claims are ultimately dismissed, the distraction is already here. The questions are already being asked. And in this league, that's enough to shift decisions. That's the impact. Because this situation doesn't need a verdict to matter. It just needs uncertainty. And uncertainty is expensive. So now the Rams are watching closely. The league is watching. And Nacua, he's no longer just fighting for yards and touchdowns. He's fighting for control of his narrative before this moment defines it for him. This didn't start as a football story, but it might end as one. Because right now, Puka Nacua isn't dealing with coverage on Sundays. He's dealing with allegations that could change everything. And the timing couldn't be worse. A civil lawsuit, claims of assault, a reported anti-Semitic comment, and one detail that instantly turned this from noise into something heavier, a physical incident that allegedly crossed the line. According to reports, the accusations stem from a New Year's Eve outing in Los Angeles. What began as a social night out allegedly escalated fast. The plaintiff claims inappropriate behavior, escalating contact, and eventually an alleged bite that left a visible mark. That's the moment this story shifts. Because now it's no longer about words, it's about actions. And actions carry consequences. Nacua's legal team is pushing back hard. His attorney denies the most serious claims, specifically rejecting the alleged anti-Semitic statement and framing